a doll created to be perfect finds herself turning human. Because of this, she leaves her fantasy world but discovers how women are treated in the real world. Years ago, girls only had baby dolls to play with, so they could only pretend to be mothers. This changed when they discovered a gorgeous giant named Barbie. Through the years, Barbie changed things and became many women who accomplished different paths. Her influence inspired women to become anything they wanted. Thus, the issues of feminism and equality were resolved. At least this is what they believed in Barbie Land. One morning, Barbie wakes up in a gleeful mood and gets ready for the day with her feet remaining pointed despite not wearing heels. After breakfast, she gracefully descends her house and heads to the city. Her day is filled with meeting with President Barbie, watching writer Barbie win a Nobel Prize, and supporting other Barbies in their careers. After a busy day, she heads to the beach where her boyfriend Ken waits for her. However, tourist Ken presents himself as his rival for the woman's attention, while most ignore Alan since his dolls don't sell. To impress his girlfriend, Ken rushes to the ocean to surf but bounces off the plastic waves. Barbie helps him up, but tourist Ken mocks him. Angry, Ken challenges him to a duel, but before things escalate, Barbie comes between them. That night, the Barbies and Kens hold a dance party. As the ladies appreciate how perfect their lives are, Barbie suddenly wonders about death. This stops the music as everyone else is stunned by the idea. Barbie then clarifies that she's just dying to dance, and the party continues, though her face is still filled with worry. When the night is over, Ken wonders about staying at Barbie's house to do girlfriend-boyfriend things, though he's unsure what that means. The woman reminds him that every night is girls' night, so she refuses. While she goes to sleep, however, Barbie is still thinking about death. The next morning, she wakes up less gracefully, and things don't work perfectly in her home. She also ends up falling out of her house instead of floating. Still, she tries to make the best out of the day. However, when she goes to the beach, her feet suddenly flattens. She shares this with the other ladies, but they're all scared to see her flat feet. Barbie also rants about the imperfect things that happened to her today, making physicist Barbie theorize that she's malfunctioning. She suggests visiting Weird Barbie, who used to be beautiful until a kid messed with her in the real world. Now, the weird one is tasked to fix imperfections that happened to the other Barbies. With no choice, Barbie heads to the weird house to meet Weird Barbie. Upon seeing her flat feet, the weird lady wonders what triggered it, so Barbie hesitantly admits that she's been thinking about death. This shocks Weird Barbie since a doll thinking about such things creates a rift between their land and the real world. She explains that Barbie must find the owner of her doll, otherwise the girl's sadness and imperfection will spread to her. Barbie argues that they already fixed the real world to make women happy and powerful, so her owner shouldn't be sad. However, Weird Barbie argues that it's still happening, so she must help her owner to fix herself. Soon, Barbie says goodbye to her friends before leaving Barbie Land. To her surprise, Ken appears in her back seat. She orders him to go back since he'll slow her down, but Ken refuses to lose a bet with tourist Ken, so he insists on helping her. Helpless, she accepts him as her companion. Eventually, they reach California in neon-colored outfits and rollerblades. This catches the attention of many people, many of whom mock their attire while men ogle at Barbie. This makes her uncomfortable, while Ken is thrilled about the admiration. Just then, a man touches Barbie, and she instinctively punches him. This lands them in jail, and after paying bail, the two decide to find simpler clothes to blend in. They change into Western attire but forget about paying for them, so they get sent back to jail. After being released, Barbie worries about finding the girl who owns her doll. She decides to focus on thinking, though this bores Ken, so he goes for a walk. While he does, he's happy to find men encouraging each other during work and gym sessions. He ends up in a corporate building where he overhears men talking business while a female assistant is dismissed into a corner. He also sees a television where he learns that in this world, men are prominent figures influencing sports, music, politics, and business. This excites him since it's different from Barbie Land. Meanwhile, Barbie meditates and catches glimpses of her owner. She sees the child's happy life with her mother, but as she grew up, the teen became withdrawn. This brings a tear to Barbie's eyes. She continues watching the people of the real world and sees the imperfections amidst the seemingly happy lives. Just then, Ken runs up to her, so she shares that her owner is at school. With that, the two head there to search for her. Meanwhile, in the toy company Mattel, an employee named Aaron receives a call from the FBI, warning him that two of their dolls have gotten loose. This scares Aaron since a doll named Skipper appeared in a family home 10 years ago. She insisted on babysitting their children but took the toddlers surfing. To prevent this from happening again, Aaron decides to report this to the higher-ups. On the top floor, floor, the assistant Gloria is busy drawing new versions of Barbie, which are eerily similar to the actual Barbie's current journey. When Aaron arrives, she warns him that their boss is in a meeting. Despite this, the man enters the office and finds the Mattel CEO with his board of directors. When the CEO learns about the recent events, he panics about people discovering that there are life-size versions of their dolls. With this, he declares that they must put Barbie back in the box. Unbeknownst to them, Gloria overhears this news. Elsewhere, Barbie and Ken arrive at a high school to find the doll owner. Though the man diverts his attention to the library, Barbie recognizes her owner from her vision, Sasha, and introduces herself to her and her friends. The ladies think she's mad for believing that she's the actual doll. Sasha points out that they haven't played with Barbies since they were kids and such dolls were actually horrible. When asked why, the teen points out that Barbie's existence made women feel bad about themselves. She represents capitalism and unrealistic traits, thus destroying real women's sense of worth. This breaks Barbie's heart, so she hides her tears and runs off. During this, Ken gathers books about patriarchy and male empowerment from the library. He then goes to a corporate building and asks for an influential job. When the manager tells him that he needs other requirements, Ken accuses him of not doing patriarchy well. The manager clarifies that they're still contributing to the patriarchy, but they're just hiding it better. After this, Ken goes to a hospital and volunteers to do surgery on a patient. A female doctor refuses, but he ignores her. Next, he asks for a job at the beach, but with no actual lifeguard training, he's rejected again. Disappointed, he returns to school hoping to find something else to start his journey to empowerment. This is interrupted when he finds men in suits approaching a weeping Barbie. They introduce themselves as part of Mattel, and since they created the dolls, Barbie asks for their help. With that, she goes with them while Ken decides to return to Barbie Land and share the patriarchal ideas with the others. Meanwhile, Gloria picks up Sasha, who turns out to be her daughter. They see Barbie getting into the company car, and Sasha shares that the woman believes she's the actual doll. Hearing this, Gloria runs to follow Barbie, but she's too late. Soon, Barbie arrives at Mattel and is excited to meet the people who created her. She asks for help repairing the rift between their worlds, so the CEO suggests that she enter a Barbie box to return to being a doll. Nervous, she points out that Ken should join her, but the men aren't concerned about him. Barbie then asks to speak to the woman in charge, but the men assert that they run the company. The CEO assures her that women are still the foundation of their company, so she should just go into the box to fix their problems. Barbie does as she's told, but when they begin strapping her inside, she gets scared and escapes into the elevator. Quickly, the men chase after her, so the woman retreats into a nondescript hallway and hides in one of the rooms where she finds a kitchen setup. There, she meets an older woman named Ruth. Finding comfort in her presence, Barbie admits that the real world isn't what she expected. However, the woman thinks the world is great that way. They hear the men approaching, so Ruth gives her directions to escape. Moments later, Barbie exits the building just as Gloria arrives, offering her a ride. During the drive, Sasha is still confused about how a real-life Barbie is in their world, so her mother admits that she took her daughter's old doll. She started drawing her like what she and Sasha did years ago, but Gloria started feeling sad since she couldn't be as perfect as Barbie. With that, she ended up projecting her thoughts onto her drawings, leading Barbie to realize that Gloria is the doll owner who caused her to become imperfect. Gloria defends how she's a boring mother with a tedious job and a daughter who hates her, so she wanted a bit of fun but ultimately expressed her emotions in her drawings instead. Noticing the Mattel cars behind them, Gloria speeds up and soon hides in a parking lot. However, she knows they can't hide forever, so Barbie suggests taking them to her world. She guides the ladies to Barbie Land, but the CEO discovers where they're heading and worries that the humans' influence on the doll's world will be trouble for them. With that, he orders his men to head to Barbie Land as well. When the ladies arrive, however, they discover that Ken has been teaching his fellow men about male empowerment from the real world, so they start making changes. Barbies are now subservient to the men, and Ken has taken his girlfriend's dream house, filling it with gym equipment and Western decorations. Unbeknownst to them, this has already started affecting the real world since Ken items are suddenly gaining popularity. Meanwhile, Ken starts ordering Barbie like a maid while the other women are happy to serve the men. Physicist Barbie even shares that she's glad that she doesn't have to make decisions anymore. With that, Ken declares that their world is now Kendom as they mimic life in the real world. Barbie argues that they failed the real world, but her boyfriend asserts that she failed him. Ken points out that he only felt respected in the real world, so he intends to turn their land into a safe place for Kens. With that, he turns the TV on, showing how the Kens are rewarded with the success that the Barbies used to have and plan to change their constitution vacation tomorrow. Ken then tells Barbie to leave since it's boys' night, taking his revenge for when she rejected him. Heartbroken, Barbie blames Gloria for affecting her with her human thoughts. She stresses that her life was perfect, so she never wanted it to change. But Gloria points out that life is about changes. Refusing to believe this, Barbie decides to wait for the more accomplished Barbies to fix things. Unable to convince her otherwise, the humans decide to leave. Meanwhile, Mattel releases Sad Barbies, reflecting how the doll feels at the present. Luckily, after the humans leave, Weird Barbie wakes Barbie to help. On their way out of Barbie Land, Sasha and Gloria are surprised to find Alan in the back seat. He is trying to escape since he hates Kendom, but Gloria points out that Barbie going to the real world caused this mess in the first place. However, Alan defends that nobody would care if he went to the real world since no one likes Alan dolls. Just then, construction worker Kens notice them, so Alan fights them. During this, Sasha decides to save Barbie since the doll is important to her mother. Gloria argues that her drawings were the cause of their problems, but Sasha admits that she likes her drawings since they show what her mother truly feels. Seeing how her daughter finally understands her struggles, Gloria decides to save Barbie Land. In the Weird House, the discontinued Barbies try to deprogram writer Barbie, though it doesn't work. Weird Barbie wonders why the influence isn't affecting Barbie, so she assumes it's because she was already exposed to the real world. Gloria's group soon arrives, and the mother learns that Barbie is still mourning that she is no longer perfect. She realizes that since she is stereotypical Barbie, she was never intelligent or accomplished. Her beauty was the only thing that kids liked her for, and she doesn't have that anymore. Hearing this, Gloria points out that women looked up to Barbie. Now that she doesn't think she's good enough, that diminishes the aspirations the others have. She mourns how women must be extraordinary to be noticed, but no matter how much they try, they'll still end up doing it wrong. Gloria then goes on a rant about the many expectations and limitations that women suffer from, like becoming a boss without being mean, answering men's bad behavior without sounding like they're complaining, and being pretty but not too much that they tempt men. Gloria fumes at the idea that they have all these rules but are never appreciated for staying in line, while any form of mistake will be their fault. If this also applies to the doll that's supposed to represent female empowerment, then none of them have a chance. Hearing this, writer Barbie starts recalling her memories. Barbie realizes that Gloria countered the patriarchal influence on them when she pointed out the constrictions imposed on them. Seeing a solution to their problems, Barbie decides to awaken the others. Soon, the humans, Barbies, and Alan get to work. The deprogrammed Barbies pretend to be helpless and confused to divert the Kens' attention to them while the others take those under their influence. This allows them to help every Barbie recover their memories. After this, the Barbies plan to turn the Kens against each other. This makes Barbie nervous since Ken is angry at her, so she isn't sure if he'll accept her again. Gloria clarifies that Ken loves her, but he's hurt that she doesn't feel the same way. Barbie defends that she doesn't want to hurt him, so Gloria reminds her that Ken took over their land, so they must reclaim it. With this, Barbie approaches Ken and pretends to agree with his views, hoping that they can get back together. The man hides his excitement as he swoons the woman he'd longed for. With their plans set, the Barbies gather the Kens to appease them. However, they pretend to be distracted by the other Kens, making their partners jealous. This causes a rift between the Kens, so the next day, they battle at the beach while the Barbies watch. As the ladies plan to use this chance to retake their government, the Mattel men arrive, surprised about the all-out war. During his battle with tourist Ken, however, Ken realizes that he's only fighting to prove that he's more than what he is to Barbie. The Kens sympathize with this since they've all struggled to live up to their partners. Finding common ground, the men end their feuds. However, when the Kens return home, they discover that the Barbies have taken back their land. Unable to bring himself to harm Barbie, Ken storms into her home to hide and weep. Barbie checks on him, and he confesses that he wanted to live with Barbie, hence why he tried to empower himself like she did. The woman apologizes for taking his affection for granted, but Ken mourns that he doesn't know his purpose without her since he was literally made to be with Barbie. Barbie suggests that the things they were made for don't have to reflect who they are. She stresses that Ken can be himself without her, and this inspires him to seek what he really wants. The other Kens hear this and are driven to search for what they can do for themselves. This enlightenment is interrupted when the Mattel CEO appears. He is glad things are returning to normal in Barbie Land, so their company can be fixed too. President Barbie asserts that they don't plan to return things as they were since none of them should be living in someone else's shadow. First, she apologizes to Weird Barbie for their prejudice against her and offers her a place in the government. She also agrees to let the Kens have a chance to be in their government, thus starting their path to equality. With that out of the way, the CEO declares that they should return to their world to close close the portal separating them from Barbie Land. However, Sasha wonders what Barbie's ending should be, so the CEO asks what the woman wants. Barbie, however, is unsure what to say. Suddenly, Ruth arrives, clarifying that she created Barbie in a way that didn't need an ending. Barbie then realizes that the woman is Ruth Handler, the co-founder of Mattel and creator of the dolls. Ruth invites Barbie for a walk, allowing the woman to admit that since she was supposed to be stereotypical, she never became good at something. Ruth points out that she saved their land and helped Gloria reconnect with Sasha, but Barbie doesn't take credit for those since they were group efforts. Suddenly, she declares that she doesn't feel like Barbie anymore. This has the woman realize what she truly wants. Ruth reminds the doll that humans don't live forever and experience discomfort and pain. Despite this, Barbie decides to be human since she wants to create things that mean something instead of being the creation itself. To help her make this decision, Ruth takes Barbie's hand and shows her memories of women throughout the years, presenting their true happiness and hardships. After seeing these, Barbie still decides to become human. Soon, Barbie returns to the real world, where Gloria and her family help her begin her life there. She goes to her first doctor's appointment, excited to become a real woman.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.